Like it's almost unbelievably bad.
Like it is
right?
So bad. I'm so glad you weren't gonna. I'm so glad you feel the same way, because I was so afraid you're gonna be like, this is what?
No.
Yeah. Okay. Good. Thursday night, Brent. Happy Thursday night.
Happy Thursday night to you. I'm a little bit trepidatious because I feel like when we start the show, there's like a little countdown to recording. And during the countdown, you said, what am I going to start with? Oh,
that's right.
That.
Yeah.
Like,
no, it's a good one. It's a good one. Dave McPherson?
Yes.
David McPherson.
Good man. Yeah.
He, esteemed author of a couple pretty good books. Most recently,
Massey Hall.
Really cool. Got that book. Got his Horseshoe Tavern book as well.
Okay.
He put out a tweet today. Today, we were recording this on June 16th, 2022. Did you see this tweet? I think I tagged you in it. Did you see this?
Oh, no, I haven't. Not yet.
You didn't see it. He said that 50 years ago today, guess what album came out? Do you know?
I do not know today.
Ziggy Stardust.
Oh, someone else. I did see that. Sorry. Yeah, I did.
Yeah, he posted that today, and I was like, holy crap, 50 years. And so I tweeted him back, and I was like, just discovered this album this year, one of my absolute favorites. And of course, I posted a link to our episode. But I just thought I would start off by saying happy birthday, happy 50th to Ziggy.
50th birthday. So David McPherson is a great man. I love the guy. And he's a fantastic dude. He's writing a new book about great Canadian rock and roll stories.
Amazing.
And he just put this on Facebook, and I said, I think I have one or two for you. And he said, okay, let's hear them. So I just got to think about which ones I'm going to tell him. So
what are you going to put in there? Nice.
Yeah.
You can pitch him here every week, and maybe we can let you know which ones to take to old Dave McPherson there.
True. Yeah.
So that's all. See, I wasn't going to catch you off guard with anything crazy. You
weren't going to burn me?
I wasn't going to burn you. No. Not like you burned me in that Guns N' Roses episode. Keep the fact that I forgot that lead singer's name of that rock and roll band. That
speaks to your humility, Alex Huard. Like
it's a funny moment.
It truly does. So I was so happy twice. So I was so happy when you actually committed that foul to forget Axl Rose's name. But then I was like doubly happy when I saw the edit and you left it in. I'm like, good for you, man. Like that was awesome because it was a truly funny moment.
Really just makes it look like I just listened to everything you say, because you're like, no, you got to keep that in. And then I kept it in, and I kept the part where you told me to keep it in. But I found it was actually pretty fitting, because it was actually, I was trying to tell a story about the time Axl Rose forgot the name of a producer, which was Jack Douglas. So in his story, he actually forgot the producer's name. So in my story, I just happened to forget the name of one of the most famous and influential singers of all time.
It was all planned.
Yeah, it was all planned. It's all. But tonight we are here to talk about the Cult. Why did you pick this album? What was it about this album?
So I've the reason why I picked this is I don't know. It wasn't the best reason. I wanted to demonstrate a point. Yeah.
Okay.
And I want to see if you picked up on that point.
I'm not very good at that. I'm a little oblivious to those things, but I'll try. I'll see.
No pressure on you. But this album makes a point. The point is not great, in my opinion, but it makes a point. So I want to talk about that tonight. But I want to see what you think of this record, because this could be a really interesting conversation, in my opinion.
Well, this is coming off Nazareth, this is which was really good rock and roll album as well. I like that one.
Love that you loved it.
Yeah, and so this one was cool. So I didn't know anything about the Cult other than what She Sells Sanctuary. I think was the only song maybe by The Cult that I knew, and maybe Lil Devil now that I heard it, possibly, but otherwise like no idea. So when you say The Cult, I was like, oh, cool, never heard of the man. And then I put it on, and Wildflowers kicks it off. Kind of caught me. I didn't really know what to think, and then the guy started singing, and then She Sells Sanctuaries was like, oh, that's the guy. And then I was actually like really surprised by the rest of this album, which is a good thing. It's a good surprise. So
okay, I was gonna say, so like a good surprise.
Yes. I don't know if this is the point. I probably shouldn't preface it with this, but like great riffs, just like really AC/DC type of a sound, and everything that kind of comes with it. The guitar and a lot of these songs are just very reminiscent of AC/DC.
Right.
But I feel like it's a more sophisticated AC/DC with the way that it's put together. You know who else I get from this?
Who?
And I guess it doesn't, like in the way of history doesn't make sense, but the hip, I get a lot of like hip, like he's like
no way,
maybe
really?
the hip were influenced by The Cult afterwards.
That's possible.
Yeah. I get some real hip vibes through this, especially in Wildflower. I think there's just something interesting about the way that the riffs play out that seem very hippish.
That's a good point, because you think about songs like Blow It High Do.
Yep.
Right. But I think that the guitar player, Rob Baker, was influenced by, bands like AC/DC and Zeppelin. Just those like right?
Yep.
Like the F sharp kind of like riffs, like the bar chord stuff. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
And A, like the A chord kind of like,
Yeah, totally.
Okay. That's an astute observation. Like that did not occur to me.
Oh, thanks. I just get up to hear vibes from this, or, vice versa. Anyways. Yeah.
Okay. So the point that I wanted to make about this record is that it's almost artificial, in the sense that it speaks to how easily music can be commodified. And the reason why I say that is because this was written in 1987, or released in 1987 rather, but it kind of speaks almost to the past glories of AC/DC and Led Zeppelin and Aerosmith to a degree. I don't know if you know a lot about the record, but like Rick Rubin was brought in.
Yeah. To produce it.
Right. And so it was almost like Rick Rubin said, hey, do you want to record like a real rock record? Do you want to play like, I think Rick Rubin actually said to Ian Astbury, do you want to play English pussy music, or do you want to play real rock and roll? And no, I do believe that happened. And then they went in and they re-recorded this record. Because you know the story behind this, right? So they recorded, The Cult had a record called Love. And it did really well. A song called Rain was on that. She Sells Sanctuary was on that. But it was almost gothy. Like it was gothy rock and not like hard rock, right? It was kind of psychedelic rock. I don't know if you know anything about that record at all, but it was good. It was good.
I took a little listen to it. I also went back to listen to Dreamtime to get a bit of a sense of where they started. And this album seems pretty surprising based on those albums, the sounds of them. Right.
So apparently The Cult recorded the third record and called it Peace. And they didn't like the sound of it. And so they called in Rick Rubin, or somebody supplied them with Rick Rubin, who had just recorded Slayer playing on like License to Ill, because he was like a hip hop guy, but then Slayer got involved and stuff like that. So he was kind of into like hard rock. So he said he came in, he was in New York, and they came to New York to see him. And he said, do you want to, make English pussy music, or do you want to make like a real hard rock record? And they were like, okay, like hard rock. And so he convinced them to re-record this Peace record that was going to be called Electric. They had, I think, 11 songs like that were Conquistador and Zap City and stuff that you don't hear on this album. They re-recorded it with just like meat and potatoes, pick and shovel, guitar, drums, bass, vocal, in the AC/DC, Aerosmith, Led Zeppelin kind of vein. And it took off. I remember being at parties in 1987, and all you could hear was this record.
Wow, that's cool.
But to me, it always kind of spoke, and I'm a bit of a hypocrite because I like it, but like it spoke to the fact that music could be commodified. Led Zeppelin music and AC/DC music, Aerosmith music could be commodified. And that's what this record represents to me. But I wanted to see how you received this album.
Overall, I really enjoyed this record. This was cool. I actually really had a good time listening to this.
Because it's good.
I put it on quite frequently. It's Ian Astbury's voice that I still am getting used to, or that I still can't get used to. That's it. That's the one weak point for me with this.
Okay.
There are songs where it works, and there are songs where it just feels so weird and out of place and weak and like,
wow, weak.
Yeah, it just doesn't feel like it fits quite a bit.
So do you want to go through the songs?
Sure, let's do that.
Okay.
Yeah.
I have a general idea of what the songs are and like where they are in the record.
Okay.
But I don't know a lot about each song. Like typically when like we talk about Appetite or we talk about like Toys in the Attic or whatever, I generally know facts about the songs just because like I'm a fanatic and I'm up on the stuff. But like I don't know a lot about these individual tunes.
I don't know if there's much to know about them. Obviously I'm sure that's probably something stupid to say. I'm sure there's things to know about them, but well, like you just said, like it's kind of like they kind of just jumped out of who they were to make a rock record like this for fun, because Ruben came in and said they could, I can do this for you. What does it mean? I mean, I try to follow along with some of the lyrics in some of these songs, and none of it makes sense. Like, I don't think any of it makes sense. Like half the time it's like, there's a lot of singers, the way that they first start getting the melodies to what their guitar player and drummer and bass player are playing, they just start like mumbling gibberish. And I feel like this guy, Ian Astbury, just started mumbling gibberish, came up with some words, and then instead of changing them to make sense, he just left them as is. Anyways, but Wildflower, which, interesting enough, guess who produced Tom Petty's Wildflowers album?
Not Rick Rubin.
Rick Rubin.
Did he really?
Oh, yeah. And it was funny because I know we're going to go off on a tangent here, but we talked about Tom Petty. He was like, he wanted to produce a Petty record, but when he reached out to, I can't remember what label he was with, they were like, no, Petty is exclusively producing with Jeff Lynne, and that's it. And so he was like, oh. And then he got an opportunity to talk to Tom, and he was like, I want to produce an album for you. And Tom was like, cool, let's do it.
No.
And it turned out to be one of his greatest albums of all time.
Wow. You know what? I'm surprised by that.
Yeah.
Because think about like the Traveling Wilburys with Petty. Like Petty loved Lynn. Right?
Yes.
And Lynn, like, holy shit, really?
Yeah.
Like, why did
he brought it?
I'm confused by that.
Lynn had a totally different like approach too, right? Lynn was like, let's record each instrument individually and then piece it all together. And the Heartbreakers weren't fans of that. They wanted to get in, they wanted to play live off the floor, they wanted to jam it all out, they wanted to record
Especially Mike Campbell, the guitar player, right?
Yeah, and Ben Mott, keyboardist. Yeah. They were big fans of that. So anyways, Ruben produced Wildflowers, and that's the first song on this album, which I thought was interesting.
Wildflower. Yeah.
It's cool. It's cool. But again, it's like, I feel like the guitar starts out and it's great, and then all of a sudden this guy's voice kind of like just doesn't have the power
really to
come with it. Yeah.
That's interesting. Because, for me, like, I look at it a shade differently, just because I think his voice works, but I think that the whole thing is kind of like, and this is really awful for me to say, but like it's almost like empty calories, right? It's not, for me, it's not real. Like it's
right.
I know that it's kind of contrived, and I don't hold that against anybody involved. Right. But I know it's not like, Led Zeppelin 4. I know that.
Right.
And in that sense, it is empty calories. But I think that the singer's up to the task. I think that, Asprey and Duffy did a great job. But that's just how I see it. Yeah. Like Peace Dog it's funny because it's almost like Ruben was kind of rubbing his hands together going, okay, so like, like it's like Back in Black, right? So you think about like, so the song Back in Black itself is like E, D, A, and there's open spaces, right? So with the rhythm in the background, like Peace Dog is the exact same thing. Right? Yeah. It's like that formula.
Yeah. Totally.
Back in Black.
And maybe the only song on the album that actually makes the most sense as well. Like kind of
Peace Dog?
Yeah. Like
the lyrics are funny, right? The lyrics are just dumb. Like B-52 baby, way up in the sky, drop your love on me. Like,
which is also
just
like
kind of, it's just like so throwaway and stupid and funny at the same time.
Well, kind of, I guess. It's about war, right? Peace. What's it not about war?
I don't know. If war, she's a whore.
Yeah, like, don't
you know I love her more and more?
That's right. So in peace is a dirty word. So you don't want to talk about peace is a dirty word. That was what, on an illustrated bird or something like that. And then she
used to be a painted bird.
Then used to be a painted bird, right? So dove, painted bird, dove, and then like war, she's a whore. We love her even more, right? So it's like we love war, and then the B-52, high up in the sky, come drop your bombs. So it's like that's why it makes the most sense to me, because it's actually there's some elements in here that actually work together.
I love symbolism and I love imagery, but I just think this was like a bit of a reach.
It is a bit of a reach, but I think there's a lot on this album that's a bit of a reach. Like
the whole bloody record is a reach.
What is it? What's the lobster line? Lobster telephone. What song is that in? Is that in Bad Fun?
No, it's not lobster. It's something. I know what you're talking about.
It's lobster something. They mention a lobster in one of their songs, which I'm like, this is so weird. Peace Dog is cool. I actually do love when they bring in the gang vocals for Peace Dog.
No, that's another funny thing. Like Mutt Lange would have never ever signed off on that. Like they're not melodic at all. It's like a bunch of like guys like working on the docks came in and looked, Peace Dog, right? Like it's so gruff.
This is hilarious.
Don't you think?
You know what I want?
I'm thinking like, who the fuck is singing that?
I want a rating from you at the end of this. I want to get a rating from you on this album at the end of this episode. All right. This is going to be a dual rating album.
Okay, I'm gonna have to justify okay, I'll give two ratings.
You just think about it. You think, we'll get there. All right.
All right. I will rate it.
All right.
I think that's fair.
Little Devil is
fun,
incredible.
Like, right? Just like a simple like D, like D riff,
right? But this is an example where his voice and the way that he sings, it works. Like I love his voice in this song. I think it is just perfect the way that it all comes together. This is an example of like the perfect cult song off of this album. So
this may be the most perfect cult song, period.
Oh yeah,
because it just works, right?
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah, I mean, I actually shouldn't say that, because there are other cult songs a lot more sophisticated, like after like Sonic Temple. Anyway, that's a whole other podcast. But
all right.
Yeah, I do. And again, I'm a hypocrite, right? Because this album is fun.
Yeah,
like it's fun to listen to.
Yeah,
especially this song. This might be the most fun song to listen to. Little Devil.
It is,
because it's just so easy.
Yeah, this and love Removal Machine, but again, we'll get there. Yeah, no, Little Devil is just is a blast. The guitar solo is awesome, and then the way that like at the end of the guitar solo, he jumps right back in singing the chorus, like great tune.
AC/DC, see, like that's the spare, everything that they could spare. There's so much space. Right. Totally. And that's one thing I love about this record.
Yeah.
But they replicate, like, that's Rick Rubin, right? Like, he's a smart guy. So he said, so let's strip out all the instruments and just hear that guitar. And you hear the lead guitar play by itself.
Yeah.
And it's like, holy shit. Like, that takes a little bit of nerve to do, right? There's no bass, there's no drums. And you hear it for a little while by itself. And then he plays around with that, Rubin does. And it works, man. It's great.
Who's the guitarist for this band?
Billy Duffy.
Great, awesome guitar player. You know, it's funny when you talk about like the guitar players of the 70s. It's like when you talk about the bands, The Who, Pete Townsend, Led Zeppelin, Jimmy Page, Aerosmith, Joe Perry. Like you talk about the guitar players, Ed Van Halen, Eddie Van Halen. Like, you know, I feel like you got into the 80s, it didn't matter. You know, it didn't matter who the guitar was. It wasn't about that. It was about the lead singer or about, you know, the producer behind the album.
You know what's interesting about what you just said? So Billy Duffy is not a virtuoso on the guitar. And 1987 was a time when virtuosos were like shining, right? Like people looked to people like Vivian Campbell and Adrian Vandenberg and Eddie Van Halen and you know, soon to be Zakk Wylde,
right? Slash,
like
I guess,
all
too,
those
right?
guys, and Slash, like this year, right? But Slash played pentatonic, but like the guys who were really lighting it up and playing like a million notes a second, right? Billy Duffy was not that guy. So interesting that you said that, because he's not a flash player. No, he's a blues player.
But it works. That's what the guitar and the solos really stood out to me as something that like really made this album, and that's why I was kind of like nobody talks about this guy.
You know, he plays the right notes at the right times, right? He's an old school blues guy. Yeah. And there's something to be said for that. You know, and again, like maybe I'm a bit of a hypocrite, but I love watching flash guys for a little while until it's kind of like nauseating. But I love hearing those old blues dudes, right? Because they play with their guts. Like they play, you can hear the blood in their playing. Like they just hang on those notes, and it's just like,
you know,
like the meat,
you know,
right?
Yeah, totally.
The good stuff.
It just made me think Jeff Woods, radio. He's the host of the Jeff Wood radio show. He just posted on a clip of Stevie Ray Vaughan on a Canadian show, and the host kind of asked him about, you know, putting that emotion into his playing, and you know, he said something and to kind of lead up to this, but the main point of it was first you feel it, and then you learn it. Yeah. And it's just kind of like the blues, right? I mean, like obviously that's also Stevie Ray Vaughan, but yeah, I feel like, you know, even with Billy Duffy here, it just, like you said, played him at the right time. He feels it, and then it comes across. It came across to me in his playing with these songs. So
yeah, I agree.
Aphrodisiac Jacket,
good tune.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Well, again, like, I almost want to bring up the lyrics of this song, because I'm like, what? What are you singing about? What is this?
I think it was like almost a throwback to the 60s, right? So there was a focus on psychedelia. There was a focus on free love. There was a focus on kind of the hippie movement. That's what this record and the cult up to this point was really about.
Sitting on a mountain looking at the sun, plastic fantastic lobster telephone.
Oh.
Drive on, baby, through the electric night, all the way, sister, in the taxi of life. Cooking in the kitchen, insects on the bone, hazy, lazy dream, world dripping on. Waiting for a time bomb, yeah, tick, tick, tick away. Something on the radio, yeah, drip, drip, drip all day. That's what I'm like, I don't get it.
there's nothing to get. Like it's just superfluous, like silliness.
Electric Ocean is just a rehash
Skipper.
of the Wildflower. Oh, it's a skipper for you.
Just dull.
See, this is again another one where I'm like the singing just doesn't really match up until you get to the the gang vocals. What did they do?
So it goes Oceans of Love.
That's right. The Oceans of Love.
Oceans of Love. And it's just like the guys from the dock got invited into the studio just to do the backup vocals.
I think it's hilarious. I think it's great. That's where I think it has fun.
Good for you.
Thanks.
You're being charitable.
Fine. Bad fun. Is it fun or is it bad?
Again, like just whatever.
Why in God's name did you give me this album?
Because I wanted to hear, like, I wanted to pick up, like, see if you picked up on the fact that it's just like, it's kind of like, it's like Hubba Bubba gum, right? It doesn't mean anything really. It's not of any substance, but it's like in a pinch stuff, right? So it's like when you really have a craving for sushi and you get it in the grocery store.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
Like do you know what I mean?
Yeah, totally.
That's what this record is like for me. There's no substance. There's no depth, but it's just fun. It's like Kool-Aid. It's like musical Kool-Aid.
Yeah. Okay. That's a fair assessment. Yeah. Yeah. It's a fun song. It's cool. Like it's, good little riff. It's fun.
Yeah. Now, the other thing is this is regarded as like a big deal in the 80s. Like this was a big record.
Yeah. Eh?
Any party you went to in 87 on, like this fucking record was playing like everywhere.
It's going to be on at my parties. Parts of it anyways. It's going to be on at my parties. That's for sure. Yeah.
Is King Contrary Man going to be playing at your party?
God, no.
Okay. So remember the comment you made about the AC/DC records? So you're at a party and like any one of these songs could play and nobody would blink.
Yeah.
Does that hold true with this record?
No, but it's not King Contrary Man who is actually going to ruin that streak. We haven't gotten to that song yet. It's an okay song. Like when you start screaming, yeah, that's when I'm done. I know it's near the end of the song, but overall, it's
It just that song in particular just seems very primitive to me.
Yeah.
Do, right? It's like this weird like pentatonic blues. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
See, it catches me at the beginning, right? It catches me at the beginning. I'm kind of like, oh, this is cool. But then where they go with it is, yeah. But again, still more sophisticated, I think, at times than AC/DC.
Really? At what times?
I think Lil Devil, for example, is
okay. Yeah, absolutely.
Something like that. No, that's fine. Even Bad Fun, like Love Removal Machine too. I think there are a few songs on here that show a little bit more depth. So that's all. Yeah.
So Love Removal Machine.
Fucking I love this song.
Do you notice that it sounds a lot like Start Me Up?
Yes. It's exactly what it sounds like.
Isn't that funny?
Totally. I'm so glad you said that because I knew there was something I wanted to say about this, and that's exactly what it was.
It's very, very close, right?
100%.
It's funny because it's like it's written to be anthemic.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Well, there's the formula, folks. Start Me Up. Write something like Start Me Up, which means you write something like Love Removal Machine. There you go.
But like it's got that swagger, like it kind of pulls it off.
Yeah.
Totally. And again, I don't want to hack on the Cult because like I listened to this record a million times. Right?
Yeah.
So, I just want it to be recognized for what it is.
I think I'm glad that I've listened to this album because there's definitely tunes in here that I'm excited that I've discovered. And Love Removal Machine is one of those tunes. Now,
Born to Be Wild is
Skip.
I'm so glad you said that.
This is the worst fucking cover of a song I've ever heard in my entire life.
It's almost unbelievably bad.
Like it is
right?
so bad. I'm so glad you weren't gonna. Yeah, I'm so glad you feel the same way because I was so afraid you're gonna be like, this is what?
No.
Yeah. Okay, good.
It's so wooden and so stiff.
It's the worst.
Right?
Like who thought
I've
of this
heard
was a good idea?
a million covers of this song. Steppenwolf wrote the original, or performed the original. But like you hear a million of these covers, right? And this is by far the worst.
Awful.
Like the worst.
Like
I can't believe that somebody actually signed off on this.
Yeah, who let this on the album?
Rick Rubin.
Yeah.
Terrible.
Number 9. Outlaw.
Okay, so here for me is a bit of a bright light on this record. I like the song.
Cool.
It kind of moves around a little bit. You know, it's got like a very AC/DC type riff.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's kind of like up tempo.
Yeah.
It's not predictable. It's cool.
Yeah. No,
I like it.
I liked it. I like Outlaw and I like Memphis Hip Shake. I like them both.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, you know what? I'll tell you. I'm glad that you like this record.
No, thanks.
I kind of figured that you would.
Yeah.
Because it's like
because it's cheap
a
rock and roll.
like I said.
Because it's like
Well, no. See, that's the point. Is that it's a facsimile, right?
right.
And if you like rock, I don't expect you to go, well, this is a fucking,
right.
This is manufactured Led Zeppelin music.
Right.
I don't expect you to be able to do that. But for like an old fucking warhorse like me, who's listened to all these bands like, ad nauseum.
Yeah.
I don't know. It just kind of,
yeah.
It makes sense.
Yeah, totally. That was good. It's cool. It's a cool album. It's fun to listen to. It's probably a 3 for me. It's probably a 3 out of 5. Maybe 3.5. Maybe I'll go 3.5 because I think 3 is pretty low. But 3.5,
I'd give it a 3.
You give it a 3, eh? Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So now I have to give you.
Do you have something?
I do.
Go to the list. What does the list say?
Def Leppard Pyromania.
Oh, wow. Def Leppard.
Yeah.
Pyromania. Okay, I know some Def Leppard. What's on that one? Is there anything I would know on that one?
Okay. Rock of Ages. Foolin'.
Okay.
Photograph.
Oh, I love Photograph. I'm a Photograph guy. Okay.
So those 3 tunes, in addition to others, are on there.
All right.
Yeah.
Def Leppard.
Foolin's great.
Okay. Great.
Okay, so that was just like a completely fucking random, like that just came out of my head. But I think that you're going to love that record and we're going to have a lot of fun with that.
What is it about
That came out in 1980.
Yeah.
That came out in 1983.
Oh, wow. Interesting. Yeah. Okay.
And it's awesome.
There is one thing I didn't say about the Cult's Electric was that it actually did, like, yes, AC/DC, yes, someone like rock and roll guys, but like it was also hard to determine that it was out in the 80s. Like I wouldn't have called that an 80s album. I feel like they did a pretty good job of also creating an album that could have been produced at any time, whether it would be 70s or 80s or even 2000s. I think they did a good job of creating an album that was, could span test of time.
But again, that speaks to the commodification of rock, right? And that it's funny because you can either completely embrace that and love it, or you can think it's perverse and gross because it kind of runs counter to the purity of like what Robert Plant and Jimmy Page did. Do you know what I mean?
No, because it's fucking music. And it's meant to be enjoyed one way or the other, commodified or not. These
are things that I think about eternally, Alex. It's my curse.
You know what? I believe it. I just think that it's a waste of time, but that's just me.
I'm compelled. I can't help that.
You're an author. Cool, man. Def Leppard's Pyromania.
Def Leppard Pyromania. Let's have some fun, man.
Okay. Let's do it.
Let's do it.
Okay. Thanks, man. I'll catch you
All right.
next Thursday. I'm off to New Brunswick. So.
What?
Yeah.
Are we still going to do the show?